Hello, second grade, and welcome back to the Witches Read Aloud. This is chapter 18. It is a really big chapter, so here we are. I think this is our third part. This is the end of chapter 18. We are back in that kitchen. We have just dumped the mouse maker into the pea soup, but we have been spotted. So we had a pretty good cliffhanger. We ran up somebody's pants legs, the only place we could go, and now we're getting attacked. So we've got to find a way out of here and then out of the... We got to get back to Grandma without being seen. And so far, everyone in that kitchen is onto us. So follow along. Let's see how we get out. It was dark and awfully hot in there. I knew I had to keep going. I dashed onward and found the top of the other trouser leg. I went down it like greased lightning and came out at the bottom of it, and once again I was on the floor. I heard the stupid cook still shouting, "It's in my trousers! Get it out! Will somebody please help me to get it out before it bites me?" I caught a flashing glimpse of the entire kitchen staff crowding round him and laughing their heads off, and nobody saw the little brown mouse as it flew across the floor and dived into a sack of potatoes. I burrowed down in among the dirty potatoes and held my breath. The cook must have started taking his trousers right off, because now they were shouting, "It's not in there! There's no mice in there, you silly twerp!" "There was! I swear there was!" the man was shouting back. "You've never had a mouse in your trousers! You don't know what it feels like!" The fact that a tiny little creature like me had caused such a commotion among a bunch of grown-up men gave me a happy feeling. I couldn't help smiling in spite of the pain in my tail. I stayed where I was until I was sure they had forgotten about me. Then I crept out of the potatoes and cautiously poked my tiny head over the edge of the sack. Once again, the kitchen was all of a bustle, with cooks and waiters rushing about everywhere. I saw the waiter who had come in earlier with the complaint about tough meat coming in again. "Hey, boys," he shouted. "I asked the old hag if the new bit of meat was any better, and she said it was perfectly delicious. She said it was really tasty." I had to get out of the kitchen and back to my grandmother. There was only one way to do this. I must make a dash clear across the floor and out through the door behind one of the waiters. I stayed quiet still, watching for my chance. My tail was hurting terribly. I curled it round so as to have a look at it. About 2 inches of it were missing, and it was bleeding quite a lot. There was a waiter loading up with a batch of plates full of pink ice cream. He had a plate in each hand and 2 more balanced on each arm. He went towards the door. He pushed it open with his shoulder. I leapt out of the sack of potatoes and went across that kitchen floor and into the dining room like a streak of light. And I didn't stop running until I was underneath my grandmother's table. It was lovely to see my grandmother's feet again in those old-fashioned black shoes with their straps and buttons. I shinnied up one of her legs and landed on her lap. "Hello, Grandmama," I whispered. "I'm back. I did it. I poured it all into their soup." Her hand came down and caressed me. "Well done, my darling," she whispered back. "Well done. They are at this very moment eating that soup." Suddenly, she withdrew her hand. "You're bleeding," she whispered. "My darling, what's happened to you?" "One of the cooks cut off my tail with a carving knife," I whispered back. "It hurts like a billy-o." "Let me look at it," she said. She bent her head and examined my tail. "You poor little thing," she whispered. "I'm going to bandage it up with my handkerchief. That will stop the bleeding." She fished a small lace-edged handkerchief out of her bag, and this she somehow managed to wrap around the end of my tail. "You'll be all right now," she said. "Just try to forget about it." "Did you really manage to pour the whole bottle into their soup?" "Every drop," I said. "Do you think you could put me where I can watch them?" "Yes," she answered. "My handbag is on your own empty chair beside me. I'm going to pop you in there now, and you can peep out as long as you're careful not to be seen. Bruno is there as well, but don't take no notice of him. I give him a roll to eat, and that's keeping him busy for a while." Her hand closed around me, and I was lifted off her lap and transferred to the handbag. "Hello, Bruno," I said. "This is a great roll," he said, nibbling away in the bottom of the bag. "But I wish there was butter on it." I peered over the top of the handbag. I could see the witches quite clearly, sitting at their 2 long tables in the center of the room. They had finished their soup now, and the waiters were clearing away the plates. My grandmother had lit up one of her disgusting black cigars and was puffing smoke over everything. All around us, the summer holiday guests in this rather grand hotel were babbling away and tucking into their suppers. About half of them were old people with walking sticks, but there were also plenty of families with a husband, a wife, and several children. They were all well-to-do people. You had to be if you wanted to stay in the Hotel Magnificent. "That's her, Grandmama," I whispered. "That's the Grand High Witch." "I know," my grandmother whispered back. "She's the tiny one in black sitting at the head of the nearest table." "Oh, she could kill you," I whispered. "She could kill anyone in this room with her white-hot sparks." "Look out," my grandmother whispered. "The wait is coming." I popped down out of sight, and I heard William saying, "Your roast lamb, madame. And which vegetable would you like, peas or carrots?" "Carrots, please," my grandmother said, "but no potatoes." I heard the carrots being dished out. Oh, we know about the potatoes. There was a mouse in the potatoes. I heard the carrots being dished out. There was a pause, and my grandmother's voice was whispering, "It's all right, he's gone." I popped my head up again. Surely no one will notice my little head sticking out like this," I whispered. "No," she answered. "I don't suppose they will. My problem is I've got to talk to you without moving my lips." "You're doing beautifully," I said. "I've counted the witches," she said. "There aren't nearly as many as you thought. You were just guessing, weren't you, when you said 200? "It just seemed like 200, I said. "I was wrong, too," my grandmother said. "I thought there were a lot more witches than this in England." "How many are there?" I asked. 84, she said. "There were 85, I said, "but one of them got fried." At that moment, I caught sight of Mr. Jenkins, Bruno's father, heading straight for our table. "Look out, Grandmama," I whispered. "Here comes Bruno's father." Whew! That was a close one. So we got out of the pants. We hid in the potatoes. Found out we are missing 2 inches of our tail. I think that's like something like that right there. That's a lot of tail. I think his trapeze days are over. That's gotta be some serious pain, I feel, going on right there. But we do make it out. We make it back to Grandmama. Oh my gosh, the operation is a success. But here comes Bruno Jenkins's father, and that can't be anything good because the interaction earlier in the day did not go well when Grandma tried to explain to him that his son had been turned into a mouse. So let's see next time how that goes. See you then.